Every sim racer knows that moment. You're glued to someone's rear wing, your heart is pounding lap after lap. But I want to let you in on an embarrassing lie I told myself for years. One that held me back from everything I wanted in sim racing. I'd catch up to these so-called faster drivers and instantly this voice in my head whispered, "You don't have it. You can't get the move done. Just stay behind." Let's be real. It wasn't about strategy. It was about fear. Because deep down, I believed those drivers in front of me were simply better, that I deserved to chase, not lead. The truth? That lie kept me stuck race after race, and the second I stopped believing it, I shot through my goals of 3K and 4K I rating. Not a lot, but a lot for me personally, and bringing me into the top 5, the top 2%. And suddenly, I was on the grid, racing with the best, which was my goal. Here's the killer. The only thing holding me back was the split-second terror of pulling the trigger and making the move. And I'd freeze every time. Did this in quali too. Sometimes I'd underperform just so I wouldn't have to face the fact of racing people that I might really lose hard against. But little did I know, I learned if I qualified up there, I deserved to be there. But when it came to overtaking, but why? Because overtaking meant flipping the script. Suddenly, I'd be the hunted, I'd have to defend, I'd have to prove that I deserved the spot. That primal fear, being chased, being exposed, cost me more performance than any setup or poor choice in car could ever make. I spoke to an ex-F1 driver, Max Pappas, a while ago, and he mentioned he was quite close with Ayrton Senna. And I had to ask him, what would Ayrton have meant by the saying, if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver, as this gets used quite a lot, and I'd love to have a closer glimpse at the underlying meaning here, and he described it so well. He said basically, if there's a gap, and then he clapped. And it clicked in my head. There's this immediacy, and it truly is. Again, I can't speak for Mr. Senna. If gap car. Really, if there's a gap, send your car there, figure it out in the corner. Get it stopped without running the other guy off the road. You know, it's got to be brutal, it's got to be harsh, but it's an instantaneous thing. It's a click of the fingers. It's not if there's a gap, I'm going to jump in. From what Max was telling me, the way Ayrton had kind of intended by saying this, if there's a gap, you know, it's an impulsive thing. It's like gap car. It's that instant. And I guess most of us aren't like Ayrton in that sense, so we won't be that fast, but it's interesting to know the mentality behind one of the best F1 drivers who ever lived, the way he sees this whole if gap car situation. So we need to have a little bit of that. If there's an opportunity, you gotta go for it. But let's sprinkle a little psychology theory in here, because why not? And like always, we've plenty of sim racing psychology videos on the channel, so if you're into that, why not subscribe so you don't miss out on new ones. But speaking of missing, that fear you feel when you're about to send a move, it's not just nerves. It's your brain getting hijacked by something called loss aversion. Quite a common theory here. The theory applies in the sense that the pain of losing is literally twice as strong as the pleasure of winning. So you finally send it and pull off an epic overtake, but instead of celebrating, your brain's already panicking about losing that fresh new position. And here's the kicker. Chasing feels safe for a reason. You have the draft, you can watch them in full, you can see their every move, you can adapt lap after lap, and it's cozy. But the fear of being repassed is so strong, your brain will slam on the brakes and talk you out of it before you've even gone for the move. That comfy, low-risk state of chasing, sorry, but that's the biggest illusion in sim racing. The real risk is never making the move at all. So how does the fear steal your pace? The manifestation of this is where it gets kind of sneaky now. Fear of overtaking just doesn't keep you stuck behind. It actually steals your speed lap after lap. So let me paint this picture. You're glued to that rear wing, convincing you're just biding your time, you're playing it smart. But what's really happening is you start missing your braking points because you're driving to their rhythm, not yours. Your throttle gets lazy, you're so worried about tapping their bumper, you're not even pushing the car to its limit. And then there's the airflow, you're sitting in the wake, so you and your tires are having to work a little harder just to hold position. This is the silent killer in sim racing. You're not driving your own race anymore, you're living in someone else's world, at someone else's pace. And the only way to break out is to take the risk, go for that overtake. Then, that's what you find out what you and your car are actually capable of. So there's the turning point. This is where things get really interesting, because once you finally pull the trigger and go for that move, you step into a whole new role, the defender. And here's the twist most people never realize. The real race has only just begun. Let's make it real. You're at the Red Bull ring and the car behind is 2, maybe 3/10 a lap quicker every single lap. On paper, you're done for, you're dead. But if you own your positioning, lap after lap, you can defend like your life depends on it. Suddenly their pace advantage means nothing. Every corner you turn it into a fortress, they just can't get by. And here's a mini challenge before we get to the solution of this, but next time you're the one being hunted, hold your line, own your line. You only cover the inside of the most important corners, and you're always ready to flip on a switch. Never break your rhythm. I've done this over and over and it just works. After about 5 or 6 failed attempts, watch what happens. The driver behind starts getting rattled. Their strategy just crumbles into frustration. They start making mistakes, driving with emotion and not calculation. That's your checkmate. You haven't just defended your position, you flipped the script and broken the cycle of fear where you feel most comfortable when you're ahead and you feel like you can fully control your opponent behind. Oh, it doesn't always work, but it is fun when it does work out. And with that, you open the door for something magical. The moment you finally pull away and prove to yourself, you're not just surviving at the front, you're thriving. So here's where the magic and a little bit of madness kicks in. I stopped waiting and I started sending it. Not every move stuck, sure, whatever. But sometimes you launch one and well, it ends up in one of the highlight reels and not one of the good ones either. But then boom, one of them sticks. You pull it off and that's the adrenaline shot. That's when you realize you just blew past the limit you thought was written in stone or granite. It's not just a win on the track, it's actually a win in your head. And that right there is the spark that lights up everything that comes next. And then boom, you've made the move and suddenly the unbeatable opponent is in your mirrors, hopefully falling apart. And that's the aha moment. The only thing holding you back was your own belief. And people ask me, what was it that helped you get that goal at 3K or 4K? It was the second I started fully believing in myself and again, ultimately going for these moves. In that instant, their I rating, their name, their apparent pace all vanish. You realize it was never your own pace that was the issue, it was the doubt. Doubt is one seriously heavy weight to carry around in a car when you're flying around, so you don't want that in the car. One bold move and you are finally driving with confidence and not fear. Attacking isn't just about position, it's about rewiring your mindset. Every sent bullet builds belief. I hope this video has helped out a little bit. Anyone that made it till the end, put down an emoji of a pizza so I know you're a real one. And hopefully, if you guys have any input that you'd like to share on this, I'd love to see it down below, because for me personally, this big click of basically self-belief to go for those moves helped me out so much. And if you enjoyed this video, there's plenty more on my channel like it, so make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss them, and you can check out the previous ones as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you on the track.